$1,100. That is what the temperature difference between your yard and your basement costs you every year in heating bills. 6 feet below the surface, the ground holds 52 degrees year-round, while your furnace fights to lift 18 degrees winter air to 68. The pipe that captures that gap costs under $800. It takes 1 weekend to install. It has no moving parts and will still be conditioning your air after your furnace has been replaced twice. By the end of this video, you will know how to put it in the ground yourself and why the industry responsible for your heating bills has never once offered to do it for you. In 1993, a building in Hanover, Germany, was connected to a 150-foot pipe buried 6 feet beneath its courtyard. Engineers said it wouldn't work. Heating energy dropped 40%. The pipe has never been serviced. It is still in the ground. That building was an early demonstration project of the Passive House Institute, founded by Wolfgang Feist in Darmstadt. Feist's original 1991 row houses, monitored continuously since construction, use 90% less heating energy than comparable German buildings built to standard code, not 90% less than American houses, 90% less than German ones, already among the most efficient in the world. Today, the Passive House standard has been applied to over 65,000 buildings across Europe. The performance range is consistent, 30 to 60% reductions in heating and cooling energy across full annual cycles. One pipe, 30 years. The number has not moved. There is a town in the Cappadocia region of central Turkey called Derinkuyu. The first thing you notice when you descend into it is that the air changes before the light does. By the 8th level, you're 280 feet down. Ventilation shafts, more than 50 of them, circulate air through every inhabited level. The surface swings from below, freezing in winter, to 95 degrees in summer. Researchers from the Middle East Technical University measured interior temperatures holding between 55 and 60 degrees year-round across multiple annual cycles. No heating, no cooling, no energy input of any kind. The city dates to at least 800 BC and remained in active use into the 20th century. Some upper levels were still used for food storage in 1969 because the temperature was exactly right and had never required management. The builders were not applying a theory. They were applying a result. The ground held a stable temperature. They built their lives inside it. The physics they were using is the same physics sitting 6 feet beneath your yard right now. 4,000 miles east, in the high desert of central Iran, engineers solved the same problem with a different tool. The Qanat is a hand-dug underground water channel running 30 to 100 feet below the surface, carrying cold mountain groundwater by gravity across distances up to 45 miles. Iran still has 37,000 active Qanat systems, some over 3,000 years old, and still carrying water today. The engineers noticed the air around the deep shafts was dramatically cooler than the surface. They routed building ventilation through those underground galleries before it entered living spaces. Wind catcher towers pulled hot air downward through the structure, across the Qanat-cooled tunnels, and into inhabited rooms. Mechanical engineers at Oxford, who studied surviving examples in the Yazd Basin, measured indoor temperatures running 25 to 30 degrees below outside air, with no electricity, no refrigerant, and no moving parts. 2 civilizations, 2 methods. The same discovery. The ground beneath your property is a thermal battery, not a metaphor, a physical fact with a specific mechanism. Daily solar heat deposits into the surface. Nightly radiation bleeds some back. At the surface, temperature follows the weather. But the deeper you go, the less those swings penetrate. At 6 feet below grade across most of North America, fluctuations effectively disappear. The ground sits at the mean annual air temperature of the climate above it, within 2 to 3 degrees, 12 months a year. In Boston, the ground at 8 feet holds between 50 and 54 degrees, whether the surface is -8 in January or 94 in July. In Atlanta, between 60 and 63 degrees. The specific number shifts by latitude. The stability does not. An earth tube captures that stability with standard 4 to 6 inch corrugated drainage pipe buried 6 to 8 feet deep, running 100 to 200 feet under your yard before entering the house. One end, a screened air intake above grade. The other, your existing ventilation ductwork. In winter, 18 degrees outside, air travels through 150 feet of pipe surrounded by 52 degrees soil and arrives at your mechanical room between 45 and 48 degrees. Your furnace lifts incoming air 20 degrees instead of 50. That is 60% less heating load before the burner fires once. In summer, 94 degrees air exits at 65 to 68 degrees. Nearly 30 degrees of cooling without a compressor or refrigerant. Every peer-reviewed study finds the same range, 30 to 60% reductions. The floor of that range has never been challenged by any published measurement. One objection gets raised immediately. Condensation. Warm, humid air passing through cool pipe deposits moisture on interior walls. This is real and managed the same way your air conditioner handles it. A 1 to 2% slope toward a condensate drain. European installations running since the early 1990s show zero moisture problems when the slope is correct. No mold, no blockage. Design life exceeds 50 years. That maintenance profile is precisely what makes this technology invisible to the industry, responsible for your heating bills. The global HVAC market generates $240 billion in annual revenue. Every dollar depends on mechanical systems running continuously. Equipment sales, maintenance contracts, energy consumption. All three require your furnace and air conditioner doing the work at full load, year after year. A buried pipe reducing that load by 30 to 60% is not a product anyone in that industry has a structural reason to sell you. The International Residential Code and International Mechanical Code, the two documents controlling residential construction across most of the United States, are updated every 3 years by committees of contractors, equipment manufacturers, and industry representatives. Earth tubes have never appeared in their prescriptive compliance sections. A builder who wants to include one must apply under alternate means and methods. Engineering documentation, plan review fees between $2,000 and $6,000, and inspections by officials who have never evaluated the technology. In most jurisdictions, the paperwork costs more than the installation. No standard licensing category covers earth tube installation. No commercial liability insurance policy covers performance claims. A contractor who installs one and gets sued has no insurer behind the work. A contractor who recommends one loses every future service call that pipe eliminates. That is not a conspiracy. It is arithmetic, and when you sell, an appraiser finds no comparable sales establishing a premium for a buried pipe that saves $800 a year. So you recover nothing at resale. No conspiracy, no ban, just a code written by people with no reason to include it, contractors who lose money if they sell it, and an appraisal system that cannot count it. The result is indistinguishable from prohibition, but not everywhere. Coober Pedy is an opal mining town in the South Australian outback, 850 kilometers north of Adelaide. Surface temperatures range from near freezing to 122 degrees in summer. Roughly 60% of its 3,500 residents live underground, in full homes with kitchens, bedrooms, and tiled bathrooms carved into sandstone that holds a constant 73 degrees year-round. Australia's CSIRO has published formal assessments of these dwellings as a model for passive climate adaptation. The community has lived this way since the 1960s. 73 degrees year-round. The ground does all the work. Michael Reynolds built earth-sheltered structures outside Taos, New Mexico, beginning in the early 1970s, maintaining 65 to 70 degrees interiors in a climate swinging from -15 to over 100 degrees. The New Mexico Board of Architects revoked his license for code violations. They reinstated it. His buildings from the 1970s are still standing and still holding temperature. Researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory concluded the barriers to earth tube adoption in the United States are not technical and not economic. They are structural. The code pathway does not exist. Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland have had earth tube provisions in their official building energy standards since the 1990s. Over there, this is not experimental. It is how buildings are built. So what does installation actually take? You rent a trencher for a day or two. You lay 100 to 200 feet of standard corrugated HDPE pipe 6 to 8 feet deep. Connect a screened intake above grade and a ductwork fitting at the house end. Slope it toward a condensate drain and backfill. Total cost: $800 to $2,500 in materials and equipment. The Performance Owner Builders Report matches the academic data exactly. Warmer air in winter, cooler air in summer, a furnace that runs less. The physics has been working beneath your property since before your house was built. The only decision left is whether you act on it before the next heating bill arrives.